I thought my mom flying me home for the holidays meant she missed me. I was wrong. She needed something from me. When the ticket hit my inbox, I cried at my desk. I hadn't been home in almost 2 years. Work, money, distance, there was always a reason. So when Mom said, "I just want my whole family together again," I believed her without question. That's how family drama usually starts, quietly, wrapped in love. I'm the oldest daughter, the responsible one, the one who moved out early, paid her own bills, and never asked for help. My younger siblings still lived at home, two teenagers who were loud, messy, and constantly fighting. I loved them, but from a distance. Visits were easier than staying. Still, I packed my bags with excitement. I imagined cozy dinners, late-night talks, maybe fixing some of the cracks that had grown over the years. I told myself this trip would be healing, a reset, a chance to feel like I belonged again. The moment I landed, something felt off. Mom hugged me, but it was quick, distracted. Her phone buzzed constantly. She kept glancing at the time like she was waiting for something else to begin. On the drive home, she talked nonstop about traffic, gas prices, the neighbors, everything except us. The house looked the same. Same peeling paint, same couch that sagged in the middle, same tension in the air that never quite went away. Family drama has a smell to it. You only notice it when you come back after being gone too long. That first night, I overheard Mom whispering to my stepdad in the kitchen. "She's here now," Mom said. "Good," he replied. "Then we can finally go." I told myself I misheard or misunderstood. I always gave them the benefit of the doubt. That was my mistake. Over the next 2 days, Mom kept dropping little comments. "You don't really have plans, right? You work remote anyway. It'll be nice for the kids to spend time with you." Each sentence landed heavier than the last, like puzzle pieces slowly clicking into place. I started to feel that familiar pressure in my chest, the one I used to feel growing up, when responsibility was handed to me without asking. This wasn't just a holiday visit. This was a setup. And the worst part? Everyone else seemed to know before I did. My siblings were suddenly nicer. Too nice. My stepdad avoided eye contact. Bags appeared by the front door one afternoon, half-packed, like they'd always been there. That's when it hit me. I wasn't flown home to be loved. I was flown home to be used. This wasn't just miscommunication. This was betrayal, the kind that only family drama can deliver. Quiet, calculated, and disguised as togetherness. And I had no idea yet how far they were willing to go or how much it would cost them in the end. What I didn't know then was that this trip would change how I saw my family forever. The next morning, I woke up early out of habit. Years of living alone had trained my body to wake before alarms. The house was quiet in that uneasy way, like everyone was holding their breath. I made coffee and sat at the kitchen table, scrolling through emails, pretending I wasn't replaying the whispers I'd heard the night before. "She's here now. Then we can finally go." Family drama doesn't announce itself. It creeps in slowly, convincing you that you're imagining things. Mom came downstairs an hour later, already dressed, makeup done, energy oddly high for someone who claimed to be exhausted the night before. "Good morning," she said, too cheerfully. "Morning," I replied, watching her carefully. She started talking immediately about how hard the year had been, about how stressed she was, about how she and her stepdad hadn't had a real break in years. Every sentence felt rehearsed, polished, like she'd practiced it in front of the mirror. Then she said it. "You know, families help each other out." I didn't answer. She poured herself coffee and leaned against the counter. "Your siblings really look up to you, especially when I'm not around." When I'm not around. There it was. My chest tightened. What do you mean by that? Mom sighed, the kind of sigh meant to make you feel guilty before you even know why. "We haven't finalized anything yet," she said quickly, "but your stepdad surprised me with a little trip. Just a few days, nothing big." I stared at her. A trip? She waved her hand. Just somewhere warm. You know how cold it gets here. And the kids? I asked. She smiled. They'll be with you. The words hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. With me? I repeated. Yes, she said, like it was obvious. You work from home, you're responsible, and honestly, it'll be good for you to reconnect. Family drama aside, this is what families do. There it was again, that subtle manipulation, turning obligation into love, turning betrayal into responsibility. I felt myself shrinking back into the version of me I'd worked so hard to escape, the girl who raised her siblings while her parents needed a break, the girl who canceled plans, swallowed resentment, and smiled anyway. You already booked the tickets, didn't you? I asked quietly. Mom didn't answer right away. That was answer enough. They're leaving tomorrow, my stepdad said from the doorway. I hadn't even heard him come in. Just 4 nights. 4 nights. No asking, no discussion, just an assumption built on years of conditioning. I wanted to scream. Instead, I nodded. That's the thing about family betrayal. It doesn't always feel explosive. Sometimes it feels numb, like your body shuts down to protect you. That afternoon, my siblings showed me a handwritten list taped to the fridge. School drop-offs, meals, chores, bedtimes. My name was written at the top in Mom's handwriting. I realized then this wasn't spontaneous. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was planned, carefully, quietly, and I was the final piece they needed to make it work. As the day went on, Mom acted lighter than I'd seen her in years, laughing, packing, talking about beaches and cocktails. Meanwhile, I felt something hardening inside me. This wasn't just family drama anymore. This was betrayal. And for the first time, instead of wondering how to fix it, I started wondering what would happen if I didn't. That night, I couldn't sleep. The house creaked and sighed around me, every sound amplified by the thoughts racing in my head. I stared at the ceiling, replaying Mom's words again and again. Families help each other out. It was the same line she'd used my entire life whenever responsibility needed to be quietly handed to me. In the morning, the tension thickened. Suitcases lined the hallway now, fully packed, tags already on them. My stepdad moved through the house like someone afraid of being confronted. My mom, on the other hand, acted almost giddy. She hummed while folding clothes. She smiled more than usual. That smile hurt the most. Over breakfast, she casually slid a folded piece of paper across the table toward me. "What's this?" I asked. "Just some notes," she said lightly. "Emergency numbers, school schedules, grocery money." I unfolded it. It wasn't notes. It was a contract in everything but name. Pickup times, rules, screen limits, consequences, even instructions on how to talk to teachers if something went wrong. At the bottom, written in bold ink, "Please don't let the kids feel abandoned." The irony made my throat burn. "You planned all of this," I said. Mom looked offended. "Of course I did. This isn't easy for me either." That was the moment something cracked, not loudly, just enough for me to see the truth underneath. This wasn't about trust, it was about control, about assuming I would always say yes. Family drama thrives on unspoken rules, and mine was simple: I come last. My siblings avoided my eyes. They knew. Of course they knew. They'd been promised freedom, late nights, extra screen time, no parents around. I wasn't a sister to them right now. I was a babysitter, a placeholder. Later that afternoon, I overheard my mom on the phone. "She'll handle it," she said confidently. "She always does." I felt heat rush to my face. That sentence echoed louder than anything else. She always does. That's how family betrayal works. It's not one big moment. It's the accumulation of 1,000 small assumptions. At dinner, my stepdad raised a glass of wine. "To finally getting away," he said. Mom smiled, my siblings cheered. No one looked at me. I realized then that my presence had already served its purpose. I was no longer part of the holiday. I was the solution to their problem. That night, Mom knocked on my door.
"Thank you," she said softly. "This means more to us than you know." I looked at her, searching for something. Guilt, hesitation, doubt. I found none. That's when the sadness turned into clarity. This wasn't accidental. This wasn't desperation. This was a choice, a family betrayal wrapped in warm words and holiday lights. As I lay awake, staring at my phone, I thought about my job, my life, the boundaries I'd built to survive. I thought about how easily they'd crossed them without asking. Something shifted inside me. I wasn't angry yet. I was done. And as the house slept, I quietly began planning, not revenge fueled by rage, but something calmer, smarter, something that would force them to finally see what they'd done. Because if they believed I would always clean up their mess, they were about to learn how wrong they were. They left the next morning. No dramatic goodbye, no emotional speech, just hurried hugs and the sound of the front door clicking shut behind them. Mom kissed my cheek, already distracted. My stepdad rolled the suitcases out like he couldn't wait to escape. Within minutes, their car disappeared down the street. And just like that, the house felt heavier. My siblings stood there awkward and unsure, like they'd suddenly realized this wasn't going to be the carefree vacation they'd imagined. The silence stretched until one of them asked, "So, what are we allowed to do?" That question hit me harder than anything else. Allowed. Not "how are you?" Not "thank you," just what they could get away with. I spent the first day trying to keep things normal. School drop-offs, meals, homework. I told myself I could survive 4 nights, that maybe I was overreacting. Family drama had trained me to minimize my own feelings. Then the messages started. Mom texted photos of beaches, drinks with umbrellas, smiling selfies. Not once did she ask how things were going at home. That night, my youngest sibling got sick. Fever, vomiting. Panic. I called Mom, straight to voicemail. I called again. Nothing. I sat on the bathroom floor holding a shaking child, and something inside me finally broke. This wasn't just inconvenience anymore. This was abandonment. I texted, "I need help. Please call me." Hours passed. When Mom finally replied, it was a single sentence. "You've got this. Just give them medicine." No concern, no apology, just expectation. I stared at the screen, my hands trembling. That message said everything she hadn't. You're alone, deal with it. That's how family betrayal works. It's not one big moment. It's the accumulation of 1,000 small assumptions. At dinner, my stepdad raised a glass of wine. "To finally getting away," he said. Mom smiled, my siblings cheered. No one looked at me. I realized then that my presence had already served its purpose. I was no longer part of the holiday. I was the solution to their problem. That night, Mom knocked on my door. "Thank you," she said softly. "This means more to us than you know." I looked at her, searching for something. Guilt, hesitation, doubt. I found none. That's when the sadness turned into clarity. This wasn't accidental. This wasn't desperation. This was a choice, a family betrayal wrapped in warm words and holiday lights. As I lay awake, staring at my phone, I thought about my job, my life, the boundaries I'd built to survive. I thought about how easily they'd crossed them without asking. Something shifted inside me. I wasn't angry yet. I was done. And as the house slept, I quietly began planning, not revenge fueled by rage, but something calmer, smarter, something that would force them to finally see what they'd done. Because if they believed I would always clean up their mess, they were about to learn how wrong they were.
The next morning, I woke up with a strange sense of clarity. Not anger, not panic, just focus. Family drama had taught me one thing over the years. If you explode, you lose. If you cry, you're dismissed. But if you stay calm and let people face the natural consequences of their choices, the truth becomes impossible to ignore. So that's what I did. I followed the rules exactly as Mom had written them. School drop-offs on time, meals prepared the way she specified, Bedtimes enforced. No yelling, no complaints, no emotional outbursts. And most importantly, I documented everything. I kept screenshots of unanswered calls, saved text messages, took photos of medication schedules, school notes, even grocery receipts. Not because I planned to expose them publicly, but because family betrayal thrives in denial. I wasn't going to let that happen again. On the third day, my stepdad texted asking if everything was smooth. I replied, "Following the plan you left." Nothing more. No reassurance, no emotional labor. That silence unsettled them more than any argument ever could. That afternoon, I received an email from my boss asking why I'd missed 2 meetings. I answered honestly, briefly, professionally. Family emergency, returning to my location earlier than expected. For the first time, I chose my life over theirs. I booked my return flight that evening, not for the end of their vacation, for the next morning. The house was quiet when I packed. My siblings watched me confused. "You're leaving?" one asked. "Yes," I said gently. "I have to go back to work." "But Mom said—" I know what Mom said. I didn't explain further. This wasn't their fault. They were part of the family drama, not the architects of it. That night, Mom finally called. "Why is your boss emailing me?" she demanded. "What did you say?" I kept my voice calm. "The truth." There was a pause, a long one. "You can't just leave. We're not back yet." "I know," I replied. Silence again, this time heavier. "You promised," she added. I almost laughed. Promises. The word tasted bitter. "I promised to visit for the holidays," I said slowly. "I didn't promise to replace you." Her breathing changed, faster, sharper. "This is what families do," she snapped. "No," I said quietly. "This is what you decided without asking." That was it. No yelling, no insults, just facts. The call ended abruptly. The next morning, I left detailed instructions on the counter. Emergency numbers, school contacts, enough food for 2 days. I locked the door behind me and walked away without looking back. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel like the bad daughter. I felt free. And somewhere, thousands of miles away, my parents were about to realize that their vacation came with a cost they hadn't planned for. Karma doesn't rush. It waits. And it was already in motion. I was halfway through my flight when my phone finally started lighting up. Missed calls, voicemails, text messages stacking on top of each other. I didn't open them right away. I already knew what they would say. Family drama always follows the same pattern: shock, denial, panic. When I landed, I turned my phone off airplane mode. "Where are you? You can't just leave. This is unbelievable." Then finally a message from my stepdad that made my chest tighten. "The kids are alone. We're trying to get a flight back." I stared at the screen, calm in a way that surprised even me. They weren't alone. They were exactly where their parents had left them, just sooner than expected. I replied with one sentence. "I left food, numbers, and instructions. I followed your plan." Minutes passed, then another message came through. "We trusted you." That one almost made me laugh. Trust isn't forcing someone into a role and calling it love. Trust is asking, respecting boundaries, something they'd never offered me. Their vacation unraveled quickly after that. Flights were expensive, seats were limited. Every delay was a reminder of the control they'd assumed they had. Meanwhile, I was back in my apartment, sitting on my own couch, surrounded by silence that felt like peace instead of punishment. I checked my work email. My boss thanked me for being transparent. No threats, no guilt, just professionalism. It was such a contrast to my family drama that it almost hurt. Mom finally called that night. She sounded different, tired, stripped of confidence. We had to cancel everything. Do you know how embarrassing this is? There it was, not concern, not regret, embarrassment. I told you I had to go back to work, I replied. You didn't listen. You could have waited. You always wait. That sentence sealed it. Yes, I said. I used to. She didn't respond. In that silence, karma did its quiet work. No screaming, no punishment, just the weight of reality pressing in. They came home early. No photos, no souvenirs, just frustration and the uncomfortable awareness that things had changed. I didn't rush back. I didn't apologize. I didn't explain myself further. I let them sit with it. Family betrayal loses its power when it's finally seen for what it is, entitlement disguised as love. And for the first time, my parents had to face the consequences of building their comfort on my compliance. They never asked me to babysit again. They never assumed my availability again, because karma had done what arguments never could. It taught them that I wasn't a resource. I was a person, and once that lesson was learned, there was no going back.
The weeks after everything happened were quieter than I expected. No explosive family meeting, no dramatic apologies, just distance, polite texts, neutral conversations about the weather and the kids' schedules, the kind of surface-level peace that only exists when everyone is pretending something didn't change, even though it clearly did. I felt guilty at first. That was the hardest part. Family drama trains you to feel responsible for other people's discomfort, even when it's self-inflicted. I kept wondering if I'd gone too far, if I should have stayed, if I should have sacrificed a little more. But every time that guilt crept in, I remembered sitting on that bathroom floor, holding a sick child, begging for help that never came, and the guilt faded. My siblings adjusted faster than I expected. They started calling me again, not to ask for favors, but to talk about school, friends, life. For the first time, our relationship didn't revolve around me managing everything. It felt lighter, healthier. Mom, on the other hand, struggled. She hinted, she tested boundaries. Small comments like, "must be nice to only worry about yourself," slipped into conversations. I didn't react. I'd learned that boundaries don't need defending, they need consistency. That was the real lesson of this family betrayal. Revenge doesn't always look like confrontation. Sometimes it looks like refusing to play the role you were assigned. I didn't cut anyone off. I didn't punish them. I just stopped compensating for their choices. And that changed everything. Slowly, the power balance shifted. They asked instead of assumed. They planned instead of expected. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. I also changed. I stopped over-explaining. I stopped justifying my no. I stopped believing that love meant sacrifice without limits. That's a dangerous lie family drama often teaches us. Healing didn't happen all at once. Some days still hurt. Some memories still stung. But each time I chose myself, it got easier. Karma had done its part, but growth was mine. Looking back, I realized something uncomfortable but freeing. My family didn't betray me because they hated me. They betrayed me because they were used to me being convenient, and convenience disappears the moment you stand up. That doesn't make you cruel, it makes you honest. I still love my family, but I love myself more now, and that difference is everything. Because once you stop accepting betrayal as normal, family drama loses its grip, and what's left is something quieter, something real, something finally on your own terms. Now when I think back on that holiday, it doesn't feel sharp anymore. It feels clear. I used to believe family drama was something you endured, something you survived quietly so you wouldn't be labeled difficult or ungrateful. I thought love meant always being available, always flexible, always the one who fixed things when they broke. That trip taught me how wrong I was. Family betrayal doesn't always come from cruelty. Sometimes it comes from familiarity,
from people assuming you'll bend because you always have, from comfort built on your silence. Walking away didn't make me heartless, it made me honest. I didn't lose my family that day. I lost a role I was never meant to carry alone, and in its place, I gained something far more valuable: self-respect. There are still moments when I miss the version of things that never really existed. The idea of a holiday filled with warmth instead of obligation. The idea of being wanted, not needed. But ideas don't raise you. Reality does. And the reality is this: once I stopped absorbing the consequences of other people's choices, everything changed. The family drama didn't disappear overnight. It softened, it lost its power, because I was no longer feeding it with guilt and compliance. Karma didn't arrive with fireworks. It arrived with boundaries. It arrived when I chose not to argue, not to explain, not to rescue, when I allowed discomfort to land where it belonged. And that's something no one teaches you growing up. You can love people deeply and still refuse to be used by them. You can walk away without slamming doors. You can say no without anger. You can choose yourself without destroying anyone else. That's not revenge. That's growth. I share this story because I know I'm not the only one. Family drama like this hides in plain sight. It wears the mask of tradition, obligation, and that's just how we do things. And too often, the most reliable person pays the highest price. So if you've ever been put in a position you didn't agree to, if you've ever been expected to sacrifice your life so others could relax, if you've ever felt guilty for wanting basic respect, you're not selfish, you're not dramatic, you're not wrong. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is quietly step back and let people face what they've been avoiding. And sometimes that's when real change finally begins. So I'll leave you with this. If you were in my place, if your own family flew you home, then expected you to disappear into responsibility, what would you have done?